Welcome into the Fantasy Incline Podcast. We're your host, Gino Ostemacher, and to my right, as always, Nick Jansen. And today on the podcast, we are going to be reacting to the draft. I know it happened a little while ago, but, we're kind of easing down from that draft fever is like the only thing on. And so we'll reignite it a little bit on the podcast today. How's it going today, Nico?
I'm doing pretty good. Beautiful day outside. That's all you can really ask for with this quarantine stuff.
So I guess we can start right at the top of the draft. The guy that we knew was going there. He knew was going there. I heard that he'd been studying the playbook for like 2 months before the draft.
Joe Burrow.
The Tiger King himself, Joe Burrow. Going from the LSU Tigers to the Cincinnati Bengals. And what do you think he can do for that offense? I mean, there's always the question of, can he be a relevant fantasy quarterback? Can he be up there and with the elite of fantasy, like the Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson type of quarterbacks? But what does he do for the offense?
Um, I honestly think he definitely makes the offense better. I mean, I guess it's obvious, but he's definitely going to be able to give pretty good passes to all of his weapons. And I think with an improved offensive line, I think that offense is going to show that they're better than what a lot of people think they're going to be.
I'm pretty sure they got rid of John Ross. I'm not.
I think they got rid of his fourth like one of his extra years on his rookie contract, but I think he still has one more.
Okay, so if he has one more year, so there's John Ross, there's AJ Green, the new wide receiver in town. They drafted T. Higgins, in which Joe Burrow played against T. Higgins in the national championship game. Um, there's a lot of weapons there. I mean, you got Joe Mixon too.
You got Tyler Boyd also.
Tyler Boyd, can't forget. Is there enough? Is there one standout that you see? Is there someone that right now, as of right now, you want on your fantasy team? You want on your draft board?
Out of the Bengals.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon, I think, is gonna be a safe guy if you choose him. I just think that offense is pretty well all around, where it's not just Mixon that you have to worry about now, which that's kind of who it was last year.
And so, like, with what you're saying, to clear up what he's saying, I guess you could say, is because now Joe Burrow can spread the ball around and do well with the weapons that he has, Joe Mixon is going to get a lot more opportunities because the defense can't sit on him like they normally have. All Cincinnati had was their run game. It was the Joe Mixon show. I mean, you can't have Andy Dalton, Red Rocket,
Yeah.
slinging the ball around and not expect defenses to stack the box when you got Joe Mixon.
Yeah, like he was even receiving like 23 to 25 touches per game. So like in the second half of the season. So that's like a lot, especially for Joe Mixon. Including too that he's kind of spreading time with Bernard, isn't that right?
Yeah, Giovanni Bernard. I don't know if he's still on the Bengals, but I think Joe Mixon's the workhorse, and we'll see if he's touchdown dependent or not. I don't think he's going to be. I think he's going to be a plug and play. He's going to be one of those guys where you can just set him in your lineup, and maybe some weeks that flex, and maybe some weeks you sit him because you have better running backs. But he's just going to be the guy where it's a no-brainer. You just have him in your lineup all the time, and you're switching out other guys, but you're just leaving him in there.
Yeah.
And so we can move on to the next quarterback. Then we're gonna stay on quarterbacks for a little while here, but the Miami Dolphins took Tua Tagovailoa, and I guess it wasn't really a shock. The whole tank for Tua thing didn't work, and then it did work. Like they they were tanking for Tua, and then they failed at tanking for Tua, but successfully tanked for Tua at the exact same time.
With more style.
Just a little more style, a little more wins in the win column.
Magic beating the Patriots.
So does Tua change Miami's offense the same way that we think Burrow is going to change Cincy?
Year one, I give that a no. I think Fitzmagic is probably going to be starting the first 1 to 4 games. He might even start the whole season, but I think he's only going to be playing like the first like 1 to 4 games, like I said, and then Tua's going to get in. But I don't even think that all around Miami is good enough to make Tua a great fantasy quarterback year one.
I just don't think Tua is going to be a good quarterback, period. Like, be it a fantasy quarterback, be it a quarterback, be it helping the Dolphins. I just don't think he's going to be good. I go back to the whole left-handed quarterback thing. Left-handed quarterbacks don't work out in the NFL. I don't know what it is. I'm not that football savvy or whatever. I just looking at the stats, they just seem to not be a factor in the NFL. And a lot of people would say that Tim Tebow would still be in the NFL if he was right-handed. I if he's left-handed, and I don't really see the spark there for the Dolphins offense. I can't see him doing anything. And I mean that's not to say that he wouldn't do anything at a different team. I mean, he might be just because he's left-handed doesn't take him down like 5 million notches. He doesn't not start a game in his lifetime. But I don't think the Miami offense can make him the quarterback that he possibly could be.
Yeah, like, and weapons they have, they're good, but they're not elite at all, you know? So, like, your running back, you got Matt Breida that they brought in, Jordan Howard. They're two good guys, but they're nothing that's going to really, like, change anything.
They still have Kenyon Drake in the backfield, too, don't they?
No, they have, he's in, Carolina, or, Arizona.
Arizona, right.
So, but, and then one of their only receivers.
Kalen Balazs, the guy I was thinking. Kalen Balazs.
One of their only receivers is Devontae Parker, so and I don't think that's enough.
So, what you're saying is the whole tank for Tua thing is not fantasy relevant there.
Just for this year, but I think that he could definitely he's definitely going to be a great quarterback.
So if someone is in a dynasty league, would Tua be the best option? Would he be better than Burrow?
It depends on who you want, because Burrow, I feel like, is going to have a similar year as Tua, but with Burrow you get to start him year one. You know, he's going to make his production year one. Tua is going to be having to wait this year, so it's really if you really want to
put your chips in the middle of the table and take a big bet,
you know. So,
all right, so we'll move on to the third quarterback now. Justin Herbert was taken by the Chargers. If I'm not mistaken, a pick after Miami took Tua. Do you think that Justin Herbert has any effect in LA, and what that effect is?
I'm just not a huge Justin Herbert fan, to be honest. I don't think he's as great of a QB as a lot of people make him. So, honestly, players like Keenan Allen kind of scare me a tiny bit to even think about even picking in fantasy, just because, like, is he going to be able to be that accurate to hit him? Is he going to make the right decisions, right timing to be throwing it to Keenan Allen for him to be able to catch it? I just don't know if Justin Herbert's that QB that can do everything. Now, players like Austin Eckler, he's a check down guy that he would be getting a lot more volume, I feel like, with Justin Herbert. So,
do you think Tyrod Taylor comes to the mix?
Yes, but I think that they're gonna try to force Justin Herbert start, see how you do. You know.
My thing here is that the Chargers have a lot of weapons. They have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry at tight end, who's very underrated tight end. Austin Eckler in the backfield with Justin Jackson and their new draftee. I think that's too much talent for Herbert not to succeed.
Yeah, one thing that scares me a little bit is their offensive line, and with a division that they're in right now, with Chiefs really liking to rush the passer and having really good pass rushers, and Broncos having really good pass rushers. I don't know, man. He's athletic, but he's not super athletic. Like he's athletic for a QB, but he's not gonna be able to use his athleticism to make him a crazy good player.
So the consensus from Neco is no on Justin Herbert. I'm saying yes on Justin Herbert. I'm saying yes on the whole Chargers offense this year. It's a risky play, but sometimes you gotta take risks and mitigate your risk in other positions. So you don't take a full risky lineup, but take some risk, or else it's not going to pay off. If you draft your team just for the floor, just for this person cannot go below this certain point amount, then they won't go below that certain point amount, but your team's just going to be mediocre. You have to take a risk to get someone that blows up and does great to win a championship. Players win championships.
Yeah, seriously.
All right. We'll stay on the quarterbacks. A little bit of a different thing here. We're expecting Burrow, Tua, and Herbert to start year one. That doesn't mean that they'll start every game year one. We're expecting them all to start a game year one. Packers and Eagles took some quarterbacks that were a little bit of a questionable decision. In the first round, Packers traded up. They didn't take this decision lightly. They traded up. I'm assuming to pass the Patriots. I'm assuming that's who wanted Jordan Love, but the Packers traded up to take Jordan Love in spite of having like one of the best quarterbacks of all time in Aaron Rodgers.
Keep on running from that pain, I feel like Aaron Rodgers.
And I just don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah, you know, the Packers have done that too, even with Aaron Rodgers when they had Brett Favre. So that's what a lot of people think. That's just what they're gonna do is they're gonna groom him under Aaron Rodgers. But does Aaron Rodgers want to do that? That's a huge question that you got to ask. Like,
well, Aaron Rodgers said before the draft to the head officials in Green Bay that he wanted a person of a skill position to be taken. He cited that like since Aaron Rodgers was in Green Bay, the last skill position player that Green Bay took in the first two rounds, so the first round or the second round, was himself. In the entire span of Aaron Rodgers' career in Green Bay, they have never taken in the first two rounds a skill position player. And so that's why Aaron Rodgers had said he wanted that. And it was kind of ironic that they did do that. It was just, his backup, his replacement.
Yeah.
They kind of put a big middle finger in Aaron Rodgers' face and said, "You better produce now, or else this is happening."
whole bunch of wide receivers on the board too. Didn't pick one.
Didn't pick one. They needed wide receiver depth like crazy. Who's their wide receivers to? Devin Funchess?
I think Lazard or something like that.
Yeah, Lazard, the Andrew Lazard, something like that.
I know. I think it is Funchess, but I heard people are trying to say Lazard is gonna be like a new come up guy or something.
Yeah,
like
even
that.
if it is Funchess or Lazard, do you really trust either of them
yeah. Like keep on
to
believing
produce
your fairy tale.
in fantasy, or to produce like just in general in Green Bay? Like you have Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams gonna get single, double, and triple covered in one game. He's gonna get everything thrown at him.
Yeah, that's. I don't know what Green Bay was thinking. Like there's definitely just a lot of pressure on Devontae Adams. Now he's like the single only good wide receiver there. So
Tough times in the frozen tundra. Philadelphia Eagles did just about the same thing. Didn't spend that much capital on him. Carson Wentz. I'm not. I mean, I guess Carson Wentz is injury prone, so that might be why Philadelphia did this. They might be just, pushing Carson Wentz to do better, saying like, There is the next guy up here because there really wasn't before.
Yeah.
So
I definitely think they were just trying to get a backup for Carson Wentz because what 3-4 years he's been hurt almost in a row too. So you really need a solidified person behind him. So take off like 1 or 2 games. I thought that was a pretty okay move by Eagles if they wanted to shoot for that. They got a pretty good all around lineup anyway. So
I think that was okay. The Eagles did good in the rest of the draft, so that kind of evened it out. And do you think that Jalen Hurts has any value in fantasy at all?
nope.
Dynasty league?
um, maybe I don't know. He would have to go to another team. I wouldn't see him really Eagles unless Carson Wentz season-ending injury or something.
That's what I kind of see possibly happening, is that if Carson Wentz gets an injury, or if the Eagles say, you know what, we don't want to deal with the injuries anymore, and they trade Carson Wentz, then Jalen Hurts could be an option for a dynasty league. But we're not pushing those cards in year one, unless say Carson Wentz does get hurt, and then if he gets hurt before the season, then the draft changes. If he gets hurt in the season, the waivers are hot.
Yeah, true.
All right, we'll move on from quarterback to the wide receivers. And there were a lot of wide receivers taken. Who do you think can be that wide receiver that makes the biggest fantasy impact year one?
I got 2 names. I got my first one is Justin Jefferson. I think he's honestly gonna fill perfectly with that offense.
In Minnesota.
Yep. I'm sorry. But anyways, yeah, he's just gonna take the Stephon Diggs role. He's probably gonna play a lot inside the slot too. Justin Jefferson played a lot in the slot in LSU, so
Him and Adam Thielen will be the 1-2 punch
yeah.
of the league for fantasy purposes.
And then even help taking off him too with Dalvin Cook being such a really good running back.
And second one?
I got Jerry Jeudy. I think that was awesome pick by the Broncos, and even picking KJ Helmer to take the load off even Corey Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. That was a great pickup. I think Jerry Judy's definitely gonna make a huge step in first year of fantasy.
Here's my take with the wide receiver situation in Denver with the new picks, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. Cortland Sutton actually gets a boost from this. Believe it or not, Cortland Sutton is in for a year. He has the support behind him. All of Denver has, like, they're behind Drew Lock. Like, that's their guy. And Drew Lock isn't, like, he's not the elite quarterback that you might want, but he's not bad. And they're going to spread the ball out, but Cortland Sutton is going to get, I mean, he's big. So, like, Cortland Sutton is going to get the end zone targets when they get down there 30 yards to go, 20 yards to go, when the game's on the line, when they're in a tough game. Cortland Sutton is still going to be wide receiver number one for Denver. So this means that with the ball spreading out, defenses have to cover everyone. Can't just cover one guy. And so I think Cortland Sutton gets an actual big boost from this rather than a decrease in what you might think.
Yeah, that offense is definitely gonna be powerful.
Any other wide receivers that could have made the list, possibly?
I mean, you can make your argument for Reagor. How do you feel about him?
Jalen Reagor ended up in the perfect spot. I don't think Jalen Reagor was going to do very well, like, if he ended up in a spot where it wasn't really the greatest situation. Jalen Reagor ended up in the perfect spot. He has people around him, wide receivers around him, that aren't going to take the entire load from him, but are going to take enough of the load to where he's not going to be the guy that defenses put their number one corner on all the time. He's not going to be the guy that's going to get double teamed all the time. Jalen Reagor's going to get the ball.
And have they really had a super fast guy in
Nelson Aguilar, but I mean,
his hands. His hands. Nah, but yeah, I just think it's gonna be a really good combination with Wentz and Reagor. So I think that's gonna be the next big fantasy rookie wide receiver jump. So,
how about CeeDee Lamb in Dallas?
too many targets out there. I just feel like a lot of Dallas players are
This might not be the best thing for fantasy, what's happening in Dallas with the weapons, but damn.
for
Dallas has
for Dallas.
weapons.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott can throw to anyone, and that means like wide receivers, tight ends, out of the backfield, check downs to Zeke at anyone.
Yeah.
Cowboys are gonna make a run.
That offense is pretty scary, just weapons alone. So crazy.
Does Zeke get a boost at all if there is one to be had?
I think he just kind of stays like the same. If they
Which same as elite.
Yep, exactly. Because you're just that much more scared of them passing the ball now, so that just makes more room for him to get open, I guess.
The offensive line in Dallas also traditionally great. The Dallas offense is going to be very good. It's going to be very lethal. When you think they're going to throw the ball, they'll run it down your throat.
Exactly.
When you think they're going to pound the ball, they'll sky it and score a touchdown.
Mhm.
Like it's just going to be that easy for Dallas.
It's going to be hard for defensive coordinators to even like see what they're going to even run, you know?
Like oh my God, it's like 3rd and 10, and they're going to pass or something like that, and then all of a sudden they're like, nope, Zeke's just going to plow over 3 guys and get a first down, and then defensive coordinators
Or
are
a
like,
screen pass to
what is happening?
screen pass to CeeDee Lamb, get the magic first down. Yeah, that's going to be a fun offense to watch.
All right, we went through quarterbacks, wide receivers, and we'll get to running backs. And we'll talk about 2 running backs because these were definitely the 2 biggest backfield picks of the draft. At 32, the last pick in the first round, reigning Super Bowl champions Kansas City Chiefs took Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was not the number 1 running back on the board, but in Kansas City's eyes, definitely the number 1 running back on the board. Going to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, just like Jalen Reagor, ended up in the perfect spot.
Yeah, I was literally about to say that. Like Andy Reid had any choice to pick any running back, and it was Clyde. So he's gonna really want to be able to use him good and use him a lot. So I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is gonna be a great like round 2 pickup for fantasy. So
With Andy Reid's history of committee approaches, and if just disclosure, I am the person that hates committee approaches the most because they win NFL championships, they win Super Bowls, but they screw fantasy teams over. Kind of annoying. But with Andy Reid's track record of making a committee approach, do you think that Damien Williams cuts into Clyde Edwards-Helaire's workload enough to downgrade him in fantasy?
see, I say like he's for sure. He came off such a really good season in the playoffs that he's for sure gonna see the field a little bit. But I think Clyde's got most of the workhorse because why would they waste a 32 number 32 pick on him? They could have used that to build their anywhere else on their team. Their defense needs work, but they obviously want to use this guy in a special way. So I think that he's going to be seeing a lot of volume.
I also think that Damien Williams isn't a good running
Yeah,
back. Like he's not very good, but he just benefited from being in a good situation like the previous years. I mean, being in Kansas City like that, everyone's getting fantasy points, so it doesn't really matter how good you are. Like if you're the best wide receiver on that team, but you're not near the best wide receiver in the NFL, you're still gonna get a ton of fantasy points.
Yeah, and really Williams' thing is just it's just kind of like a pass back guy. He couldn't really run too much with Kansas City, but I think Clyde's going to be able to change that.
So the other running back, DeAndre Swift, to the Detroit Lions in the second round after using their first pick for defense. I'll be honest, I didn't like this pick to start. Obviously, as Lions fans, we're critiquing the Detroit headquarters all of the time. Didn't like this pick to start, but with the rest of their draft, I ended up kind of warming up to it, and I kind of like it now. Um, does this fantasy wise have an impact in Detroit?
Um, like, are you saying for the all around team? Like, does Swift help like the players around him, or just
Biggest impact. Is it? Are we going to want DeAndre Swift on our teams? Is it just going to boost Matthew Stafford, and we're going to want Matthew Stafford on our teams?
um? I would say Swift. I like him as a flex spot. I think that he's going to be getting like a 60-40 split with on Johnson, him getting the 60, and he's going to be getting more into the pass options. So I think he's just a nice safe pick. I think there's going to be a lot of volume with the running backs at Detroit. So
Any boost for Matthew Stafford?
yeah, definitely think bringing in a run game opens up more of a passing game for, well, Stafford's been had that, but if that's not the only option, it makes more things open up.
I think Kenny Galladay gets the boost here. With a versatile running game, be it whether that versatile backfield, I'll say, can run it, check down, pass it,
Outside.
outside runs, all that kind of stuff. I think the defenses are going to be more wary of the run game, and that'll open up Kenny Galladay. And Kenny Galladay was emerging as like Detroit's only weapon that Matthew Stafford had, and so he was bound to be game planned around. Like defensive coordinators were going to game plan around Kenny Galladay, but now they really can't, and I think that boosts them. All right, we're going to get into the shit show of the day. Los Angeles Rams. They unveiled their new uniforms today, and if you didn't see, you should probably check out their Twitter and their Instagram to view these uniforms. They're awful. I mean, they're terrible. Neco?
Yeah, I think they're all right, but I just can't take away from how they basically copied the Chargers. Like,
if you see a picture, and there have been comments like on the social media posts that have compared the two, but there's pictures of a Chargers uniform and the new Chargers uniform and the new Rams uniform side by side, and it was the Chargers royal blue combo with the royal blue jersey and pants, and minus the difference in color of the helmet. I mean, these are spitting image of each other. Like they're very, very close. The biggest difference though is, you know what, I feel like the Chargers uniform is, the Nike branded NFL uniform that like people want, right? And then you see some people in the stadiums that have like the Chinese knockoff. The LA Rams are the Chinese knockoff.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. The Chargers did it right, and then the LA Rams said, "Oh, they did it right. Let's kind of copy them, but not really, Chinese knockoff."
I see where you're coming from.
Twitter exploded. Social media exploded. There's so many comments. The meme resident to this post was the dumpster fire. I mean, people just hundreds scrolling through hundreds and hundreds of dumpster fire gifs. It was funny. It was some funny stuff. Gotta love Rams being Rams.
Gotta love.
They in LA moved to St. Louis, changed their bright gold to like this dull gold, moved back to LA, playing the Coliseum in front of like nobody. change their colors back, change their logo, change their uniform, change everything. I'm surprised they haven't purged their entire team.
Oh man.
They're smoking some stuff in LA.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
LA.
All right. Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Incline Podcast. If you want to get a hold of us, thefantasyincline@gmail.com. Ask questions. You can possibly be featured on the show. Twitter is @FantasyIncline. Find us wherever you find podcasts, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And if you want a video version of the podcast, you can go to YouTube and search the Fantasy Incline. Thanks for listening.